Long live the king, who's there?
Nay, answer me. Stand and unfold yourself.
Long live the king.
Leonardo, you come most carefully upon your hour.
Have you had quiet, guard?
Not a mouse stirring.
Well, good night. If you do meet Horatio and Marcellus, the rivals of my watch, bid them make haste.
I think I hear them.
Ah.
Stand ho. Who's there?
Friends to this ground.
And liegemen to the Dane.
Give you good night.
Oh, farewell, honest soldier. Hola, Bernardo.
Welcome, Horatio. Welcome, good Marcellus.
What? Has this thing appeared again tonight?
I have heard nothing.
Horatio says but 'tis our fantasy, and will not let belief take hold of him, touching this dreaded sight twice seen of us. Therefore, I have entreated him along with us to watch the minutes of this night, that if again this apparition come, he may approve our eyes and speak to it.
Then let us once again assail his ears that are so fortified against this story, what we have 2 nights seen. Last night of all, when yon same star that's westward from the pole had made his course to illumine that part of heaven where now it burns. Marcellus and myself, the bell then beating 1.
Peace! Break thee off! Look where it comes again!
In the same figure like the king that's dead.
Thou art a scholar. Speak to it, Horatio.
What art thou that observed this time of night, together with that fair and warlike form in which the majesty of buried Denmark did sometimes march? By heaven, I charge thee, speak!
It is offended.
See, it stalks away.
Stay, speak, speak, I charge thee, speak!
'Tis gone and will not answer.
How now, Horatio? You tremble and look pale. Is this not something more than fantasy? What think you want?
Before my God, I might not believe without my sensible and true avouch of my own eyes.
Is it not like the king?
As thou art to thyself.
Thus, twice before, and jump at this dead hour, with martial stalk hath he gone by our watch.
Well, may it sort that this portentous figure comes armed through our watch, so like the king that was and is. The question of these wars. Soft! Behold, lo, where he comes again.
Cross it though it blast me. Stay, illusion! If thou hast any sound or use of voice, speak to me. If there be any good thing to be done that may to thee do ease and grace to me, speak to me. Stay and speak. Stop it, Marcellus!
Shall I strike at it with my partisan?
Do it if it will not stand.
'Tis here.
'Tis here.
'Tis gone. We do it wrong, being so majestical to offer it the show of violence, for it is as the air, invulnerable, and our vain blows malicious mockery.
It was about to speak when the cock crew.
And then it started like a guilty thing upon a fearful summons. I have heard the cock, which is the trumpet to the morn, doth with his lofty and shrill sounding throat awake the god of day, and at his warning, whether in sea or fire, in earth or air, the extravagant and erring spirit hies to his confine. And of the truth therein, this present object made probation.
It faded on the crowing of the cock.
Let us impart what we have seen tonight unto young Hamlet, for upon my life, this spirit dumb to us will speak to him. Do you consent we shall acquaint him with it, as needful of our loves fitting our duty?
Aye.
Let's do it, I pray, and I this morning know where we shall find him most conveniently.
Though yet of Hamlet, our dear brother's death, the memory be green, and that it us befitted to bear our hearts in grief, and our whole kingdom to be contracted in one brow of woe. Yet so far hath discretion fought with nature, that we, with wisest sorrow, think on him together, with remembrance of ourselves. Therefore, our sometime sister, now our queen, the imperial jointress to this warlike state, have we as 'twere with a defeated joy, with one auspicious and one dropping eye, with mirth in funeral and with dirge in marriage, in equal scale weighing delight and dole, taken to wife. Nor have we herein barred your better wisdoms, which have freely gone with this affair along, for all our thanks. And now, Laertes, what's the news with you? You told us of some suit. What is Laertes?
You were leaving pardon to return to France, from whence, though willingly I came to Denmark to show my duty in your coronation, yet now I must confess that duty done, my thoughts and wishes bend again toward France, and bow them in your gracious leave and pardon.
Have you your father's leave? What says Polonius?
He hath, my lord, wrung from me my slow leave by laborsome petition, and at last upon his will I sealed my hard consent. I do beseech you, give him leave to go.
Take thy fair hour, Laertes, time be thine, and thy best graces spend it at thy will. But now, my cousin Hamlet, and my son.
A little more than kin and less than kind.
Good Hamlet, cast thy knighted colour off, and let thine eye look like a friend on Denmark. Do not forever with thy veiled lids seek for thy noble father in the dust. Thou know'st 'tis common. All that lives must die, passing through nature to eternity.
Aye, madam, it is common.
If it be, why seems it so particular with thee?
Seems, madam? Nay, it is. I know not seems. 'Tis not alone my inky cloak, good mother, together with all forms, moods, shapes of grief that can denote me truly. These indeed seem, for they are actions that a man might play. But I have that within which passeth show, these but the trappings and the suits of woe.
'Tis sweet and commendable in your nature, Hamlet, to give these mourning duties to your father. But you must know, your father lost a father, that father lost his. And the survivor, bound in filial obligation for some term the due obsequious sorrow. But to persever in obstinate condolement is a course of impious stubbornness. 'Tis unmanly grief, and shows a will most incorrect to heaven, a heart unfortified, a mind impatient, an understanding simple and unschooled. For what we know must be, and is as common as any the most vulgar thing to sense. Why should we in our peevish opposition take it to heart? Fie! 'Tis a fault to heaven, a fault against the dead, a fault to nature, to reason most absurd, whose common theme is death of fathers, and who still hath cried from the very course till he that died today. This must be so. We pray you, throw to earth this unprevailing woe, and think of us as of a father. For let the world take note, you are the most immediate to our throne, and with no less nobility of love than that which dearest father bears his son, do I impart toward you. For your intent in going back to school in Wittenberg, it is most retrograde to our desire. And we beseech you, bend you to remain here in the cheer and comfort of our eye, our chiefest courtier, cousin, and our son.
Let not your mother lose her prayers, Hamlet. I pray thee, stay with us. Go not to Wittenberg.
I shall in all my best obey you, madam.
Aye, 'tis a loving and a fair reply. Be as ourself in Denmark. Madam, come. This gentle and unforced accord of Hamlet sits smiling to my heart. Come away.
Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew. Or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon 'gainst self-slaughter. Oh, God! God, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. That it should come to this, but 2 months dead. Nay, not so much, not 2. So excellent a king. Let me not think on't. Frailty, thy name is woman. a little month, or ere those shoes were old with which she followed my poor father's body like Niobe, old tears, why, she, even she, oh God, a beast that wants discourse of reason would have mourned longer, married with my uncle, my father's brother, but no more like my father than I to Hercules. Within a month, ere yet the salt of most unrighteous tears had left the flushing in her gullet eyes, she married. Oh, most wicked speed to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets. It is not, nor it cannot come to good. But break my heart, for I must hold my tongue.
Hail to your lordship.
Horatio, Marcellus,
My good lord,
I am very glad to see you. Good evening, sir. But what in faith make you from Wittenberg?
My lord, I came to see your father's funeral.
I pray thee, do not mock me, fellow student. I think it was to see my mother's wedding.
Indeed, my lord, it followed hard upon.
Thrift, Horatio. The funeral baked meats did coldly furnish forth the marriage tables. Would I had met my dearest foe in heaven, or ever I had seen that day, Horatio. Oh, my father, methinks I see my father.
I saw him once. He was a goodly king.
He was a man. Take him for all in all, I shall not look upon his like again.
My lord, I think I saw him yesternight.
Saw who?
My lord, the king, your father. 2 nights together had these gentlemen, Marcellus and Bernardo, on their watch, in the dead and vast and middle of the night, been thus encountered. A figure like your father, armed at point exactly, cap a pie, appears before them, and with solemn march goes slowly and stately by them. Thrice he walked by their oppressed and fear-surprised eyes, while his truncheon's length, whilst they, distilled almost to jelly with the act of fear, stand dumb and speak not to him. This in dreadful secrecy did they impart to me, and I with them the 3rd night kept a watch, where, as they had delivered, both in time, form of the thing, each word made true and good, the apparition comes. I knew your father. These hands are not more alike.
But where was this?
my lord, upon the platform where we watched.
Did you not speak to it?
My lord, I did, but answer made it none.
Oh, 'tis very strange.
As I do live, my honored lord, 'tis true, and we did think it writ down on our duty to let you know of it.
Indeed, indeed, sirs, but this troubles me. Hold you the watch tonight?
We do, my lord.
Armed, say you?
Armed, my lord.
From top to toe?
My lord, from head to foot.
Then saw you not his face?
Oh, yes, my lord, he wore his beaver up.
And fixed his eyes upon you?
Most constantly.
Oh, I would have been there.
It would have much amazed you.
Very like, very like. Stayed it long?
While one with moderate haste might tell 100.
His beard was grizzled, no?
It was, as I have seen it in his life, a sabled silver.
I will watch tonight, perchance 'twill walk again.
I warrant it will.
If it assume my noble father's person, I'll speak to it, though hell itself should gape and bid me hold my peace. So, fare you well. Upon the platform, twixt 11 and 12, I'll visit you.
Our duty to your honor.
Your loves as mine to you. Farewell. My father's spirit in arms. All is not well. I doubt some foul play. Oh, would the night were come. Till then, sit still, my soul. Foul deeds will rise, though all the earth o'erwhelm them to men's eyes.
My necessaries are embarked. Farewell. And sister, as the winds give benefit and convoy as assistant, do not sleep, but let me hear from you.
Do you doubt that?
For Hamlet and the trifling of his favor, hold it a fashion and a toy in blood, a violet in the youth of primy nature, forward, not permanent, sweet, not lasting, the perfume and suppliance of a minute, no more.
No more but so?
Think it no more. For nature, crescent does not grow alone in thews and bulk, but as this temple waxes, the inward service of the mind and soul grows wide withal. Perhaps he loves you now, and now no soil nor caudle doth besmirch the virtue of his will. But you must fear his greatness weighed, his will is not his own, for he himself is the subject to his birth.
I shall the effect of this good lesson keep, as watchman to my heart. But good my brother, do not, as some ungracious pastors do, show me the steep and thorny way to heaven, whiles, like a puffed and reckless libertine, himself the primrose path of dalliance treads.
Oh, fear me not. I stay too long. But here my father comes. A double blessing is a double grace. Occasion smiles upon second leave.
Yet here, Laertes? Aboard, aboard, for shame! The wind sits in the shoulder of your sail, and you are stayed for. There, my blessing with thee, and these few precepts in thy memory see thou character. Give thy thoughts no tongue, nor any unproportionate thought his act. Be thou familiar, but by no means vulgar. Those friends thou hast, and their adoption tried, grapple them to thy soul with hoops of steel. But do not dull thy palm with entertainment of each new-hatched, unfledged comrade. Beware of entrance to a quarrel, but, being in, bear't that the opposed may beware of thee. Give every man thy ear, but few thy voice. Take each man's censure, but reserve thy judgment. Costly thy habit as thy purse can buy, but not expressed in fancy, rich, not gaudy, for the apparel oft proclaims the man. And they in France of the best rank and station are of a most select and generous chief in that. Neither a borrower nor a lender be, for loan oft loses both itself and friends, and borrowing dulls the edge of husbandry. And it, above all, to thine own self be true. And it must follow as the day the night. Thou canst not then be false to any man. Farewell. My blessing season this in thee.
Most humbly do I take my leave, my lord. Farewell, Ophelia. Remember well what I said to you.
'Tis in my memory locked, and you yourself shall keep the key of it.
Farewell.
What is't, Ophelia, he hath said to you?
So please you, something touching the Lord Hamlet.
Marry, well bethought. 'Tis told me he hath very oft of late given private time to you, and you yourself have of your audience been most free and bounteous. If it be so, as so 'tis put on me, and that in way of caution, I must tell you, you do not understand yourself so clearly as it behooves my daughter and your honor. What is between you? Give me up the truth.
He hath, my lord, of late made many tenders of his affection to me.
Affection. You speak like a green girl, unsifted in such perilous circumstance. Do you believe his tenders, as you call them?
My lord, he hath importuned me with love in honorable fashion.
Aye, fashion you may call it. Go to, go to.
And hath given countenance to his speech, my lord, with almost all the holy vows of heaven.
Aye, springes to catch woodcocks. I do know when the blood burns how prodigal the soul lends the tongue vows. These blazes, daughter, giving more light than heat, extinct in both, even in their promise, as it is a making you must not take for fire. From this time be somewhat scatter of your maiden presence. Set your entreatments at a higher rate than command to parley. For Lord Hamlet believes so much in him that he is young, and with a larger tether may he walk than may be given you. In few, Ophelia, do not believe his vows, for they are brokers, not of that dye which their investments show, but mere implorators of unholy suits, breathing like sanctified and pious bawds, the better to beguile. This is for all. I would not in plain terms from this time forth have you so slander any moment leisure, as to give words or talk with the Lord Hamlet. Look to it, I charge you. Come your ways.
I shall obey, my lord.
What hour now?
I think it lacks of 12.
No, it is struck.
Indeed, I heard it not. Then it draws near the season wherein the spirit held his wont to walk. Look, my lord, it comes.
Angels and ministers of grace, defend us. Be thou a spirit of health or goblin damned. Bring with thee airs from heaven or blasts from hell. Be thy intents wicked or charitable. Thou comest in such a questionable shape that I will speak to thee. I'll call thee Hamlet, king, father, royal Dane. Oh, answer me. Say, why is this? Wherefore? What should we do?
It beckons you to go away with it, as if it's some impartmented desire to you alone.
Look, with what courteous action it waves you to a more removed ground, but do not go with it.
It will not speak. Then I will follow it.
Do not, my lord.
Why, what should be the fear? I do not set my life in a pin's fee, and for my soul, what can it do to that, being a thing immortal as itself? It waves me forth again. I'll follow it.
What if it tempt you towards the flood, my lord, or to the dreadful summit of the cliff?
It waves me still. Go on, I'll follow thee.
You shall not go, my lord.
Hold off your hands.
Be ruled, you shall not go.
My fate cries out and makes each petty artery in this body as hardy as the Neman lion's nerve. Still I am called. Unhand me, gentlemen. By heaven, I'll make a ghost of him that lets me. I say, away. Go on, I'll follow thee.
He waxes desperate with imagination.
Let's follow him. It is not fit to thus obey him.
Have after. To what issue will this come?
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Heaven will direct it.
Nay, let's follow him.
Where wilt thou lead me? Speak, I'll go no further.
Mock me.
I will.
My hour is almost come, when I to sulphurous and tormenting flames must render up myself.
Alas, poor ghost.
Ah, pity me not, but lend thy serious hearing to what I shall unfold.
Speak, I am bound to hear.
So art thou to revenge when thou shalt hear.
What?
I am thy father's spirit, doomed for certain term to walk the night, and for the day confined to fast and fires, till the foul crimes done in my days of nature are burnt and purged away. List, list, oh, list, if thou didst ever thy dear father love, revenge his foul and most unnatural murder.
Murder?
Murder most foul, as in the best it is, but this most foul, strange and unnatural.
Haste me to know it, that I with wings as swift as mediation or the thoughts of love may sweep to my revenge.
I find thee apt, and duller shouldst thou be than the fat weed that roots itself in ease on Lethe wharf. Wouldst thou not stir in this? Now, Hamlet, hear. 'Tis given out that sleeping in my orchard a serpent stung me, so the whole ear of Denmark is by a forged process of my death rankly abused. But know thou, noble youth, the serpent that did sting thy father's life now wears his crown.
Oh, my prophetic soul, my uncle!
Aye, that incestuous, that adulterate beast, with witchcraft of his wit, with traitorous gifts. O wicked wit and gifts that have the power so to seduce, won to a shameful lust the will of my most seeming virtuous queen. O Hamlet, what a falling off was there from me, whose love was of that dignity that it went hand in hand, even with the vow I made to her in marriage, and to decline upon a wretch whose natural gifts were poor to those of mine. But virtue, as it never will be moved, though lewdness courted in the shape of heaven, so lust, though to a radiant angel linked, will sate itself in a celestial bed and prey on garbage. But soft, methinks, I scent the morning air. Brief let me be, sleeping within my orchard, my custom always of the afternoon. Upon my secure hour thy uncle stole with juice of cursed Hebanon in a vial, and in the porches of my ears did pour the leprous distilment, whose effect holds such enmity with blood of man that swift as quicksilver it courses through the natural gates and alleys of the body, and with a sudden vigor doth posset and curd, like eager droppings into milk, the thin and wholesome blood, and so did it mine, and in an most instant tether barked about, most Lazar-like with vile and loathsome crust, all my smooth body. Thus was I, sleeping by a brother's hand, of life, of crown, of queen, at once dispatched, cut off even in the blossoms of my sin, unhouseled, disappointed, unannaled, no reckoning made, but sent to my account with all my imperfections on my head. Oh, horrible, most horrible! If thou hast nature in thee, bear it not. Let not the royal bed of Denmark be a couch for luxury and damned incest. But howsoever thou pursuest this act, taint not thy mind, nor let thy soul contrive against thy mother aught. Leave her to heaven and to those thorns that in her bosom lodge, to prick and sting her. Fare thee well at once. The glowworm shows the matin to be near, and against the pale is uneffectual fire. Adieu, adieu, Hamlet, remember me.
Oh, oh, you host of heaven! Oh, earth! What else? And shall I couple hell? Oh, fie, hold my heart, and you, my sinews, grow not instant old, but bear me up stiffly. Remember thee, I, thou poor ghost, while memory holds a seat in this distracted globe. Remember thee. Yea, from the table of my memory I'll wipe away all trivial fond records, all saws of books, all forms, all precious past that youth and observation copied there, and thy commandment all alone shall live within the book and volume of my brain, unmixed with baser matter. Yes, by heaven. Oh, most pernicious woman. Oh, villain, villain, smiling, damned villain. My tables, meet it is I set it down, that one may smile and be a villain. At least I'm sure it may be so in Denmark. And so, uncle, there you are. Now to my word. It is adieu, adieu, remember me. I have sworn.
How is't, my noble lord?
Oh, wonderful.
Good my lord, tell it.
No, you'll reveal it.
Not I, my lord, by heaven.
Nor I, my lord.
How say you then? Would heart of man once think it, but you will be secret.
Aye, by heavens, my lord.
There's ne'er a villain living in all Denmark, but he's an errant knave.
There needs no ghost, my lord, come from the grave to tell us this, but these are but wild and whirling words, my lord.
I'm sorry they offend you heartily. Yes, faithfully heartily.
There's no offense, my lord.
Yes, by St. Patrick there is, Horatio, and much offense too. For your desire to know what is between us, or master it as you may. And now, good friends, as you are friends, scholars, and soldiers, give me one poor request.
What is it, my lord? We will.
Never make known what you have seen tonight.
My lord, we will not.
Nay, but swear.
In faith, my lord, not I.
Nor I, my lord, in faith.
Upon my sword.
We have sworn already, my lord.
Oh, indeed, upon my sword, indeed.
Propose the oath, my lord.
Never to speak of this that you have seen. Swear by my sword.
Swear.
Come hither, gentlemen, and lay your hands again upon my sword. Never to speak of this that you have heard. Swear by my sword.
Swear.
Well said, old Mo. Canst work in the earth so fast? A worthy pioneer. Once more remove, good friends.
Day and night, but this is wondrous strange.
And therefore, as a stranger, give it welcome. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. But come, here as before, never so help you mercy, how strange or odd soe'er I bear myself, as perchance hereafter shall think meet to put an antic disposition on, that you at such times, seeing me, never shall, with arms encumbered thus, or this head shake, or by pronouncing of some doubtful phrase, so grace and mercy at your most need help you, swear.
Swear.
Rest, rest, perturbed spirit.
I swear, my lord.
I swear, my lord.
So, gentlemen, with all my love I do commend me to you, and what so poor a man as Hamlet is may do to express his love and friending to you, God willing, shall not lack. Let us go in together, and still your fingers on your lips, I pray. The time is out of joint. Oh, cursed spite, that ever I was born to set it right.
How now, Ophelia? What's the matter?
Oh, my lord, I have been so affrighted. My lord, as I was sewing in my closet, Lord Hamlet, with his doublet all unbraced, no hat upon his head, his stockings fouled, ungartered, and down give to his ankle, and with a look so piteous and purport, as if he had been loosed out of hell to speak of horrors, he comes before me.
What said he?
He took me by the wrist and held me hard. He falls to such perusal of my face as he would draw it. Long stayed he so, at last, a little shaking of mine arm, and thrice his head thus waving up and down, he raised a sigh so piteous and profound, as it did seem to shatter all his bulk and end his being. That done, he lets me go, and with his head over his shoulder turned, he seemed to find his way without his eyes, for out of doors he went without their helps, and to the last bended their light on me.
Come, go with me. I will go seek the king. This is the very ecstasy of love. Have you given him any hard words of late?
No, my good lord, but as you did command, I did repel his fetters and denied his access to me.
That hath made him mad. I am sorry that with better heed and judgment I had not quoted him. I feared he did but trifle, and meant to wreck thee, but beshrew my jealousy. By heaven, it is as proper to our age to cast beyond ourselves in our opinions, as it is common for the younger sort to lack discretion. Come, go we to the king.
Welcome, dear Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Moreover, though we much did long to see you, the need we have to use you did provoke our hasty sending. Something have you heard of Hamlet's transformation, so call it, sith nor the exterior nor the inward man resembles that it was. I entreat you both that you vouchsafe your rest here in our court some little time, so by your companies to draw him on to pleasures, and to gather so much as from occasion you may glean, whether aught to us unknown afflicts him thus, that opened lies within our remedy.
Good gentlewomen, he hath much talked of you. If it will please you to show us so much gentry and goodwill as to expend your time with us a while, for the supply and profit of our hope, your visitation shall receive such thanks as fits a king's remembrance.
Both your majesties might, by the sovereign power you have of us, put your dread pleasures more into command than to entreaty.
But we both obey and here give up ourselves in the full bent to lay our service freely at your feet to be commanded.
Thanks, Rosencrantz and gentle Guildenstern.
Thanks, Guildenstern and gentle Rosencrantz. And I beseech you instantly to visit my too much changed son. Go, some of you, and bring these gentle souls where Hamlet is.
Heavens make our presence and our practices pleasant and helpful to him.
Aye, amen.
Lord Polonius.
The ambassadors from Norway, my good lord, are joyfully returned.
Thou still hast been the father of good news.
Have I, my lord? I assure my good liege, I hold my duty as I hold my soul, both to my God and my gracious king. And I do think, or else this brain of mine hunts not the trail of policy so sure, as it hath used to, that I have found the very cause of Hamlet's lunacy.
No, speak of that I do long to hear.
Give first admittance to the ambassadors. My news shall be the fruit to that great feast.
Thyself do grace to them, and bring them in. He tells me, my dear Gertrude, he hath found the head and source of all your son's distemper.
I doubt it is no other but the main, his father's death and our hasty marriage.
Well, we shall sift him. Welcome, my good friends. Say, Voltimand, what from my brother Norway?
Most fair return of greetings and desires. Upon our first, he sent out to suppress his nephew's levies, whereat grieved that so his sickness, age, and impotence was falsely borne in hand, sends out arrests on Fortinbras, which he in brief obeys. Wherein old Norway, overcome with joy, gives him 3,000 crowns in annual fee, and his commission to employ those soldiers so levied as before against the Polak, with an entreaty, further here shown, that it might please you to give pass through your dominions for this enterprise, on such regards of safety and allowance are therein set down.
It likes us well, and at our more considered time we'll read, answer, and think upon this business. Meantime, we thank you for your well-took labor.
This business is well ended. My liege and madam, to expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, why day is day, night night, and time is time, were nothing but to waste night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad.
What?
Mad, I call it, for to define true madness, what is but to be nothing else but mad? But let that go.
More matter with less art.
Madam, I swear I use no art at all. That he is mad, 'tis true, 'tis true, 'tis pity, and pity 'tis true. A foolish figure. But farewell it, for I will use no art. Mad, let us grant him then, and now remains that we find out the cause of this effect, or rather say, the cause of this defect, for this effect defective comes by cause. Thus it remains, and the remainder thus perpend. I have a daughter, and while she is mine, who in her duty and obedience, mark, hath given me this. Now gather and surmise. To the celestial, my soul's idol, the most beautified Ophelia, Oh, that's an ill phrase, a vile phrase. Beautified is a vile phrase, but you shall hear thus. In her excellent white bosom these...
Came this from Hamlet to her?
Good madam, stay a while, I will be faithful. Doubt thou the stars are fire? Doubt that the sun doth move? Doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt I love. O dear Ophelia, I am at these numbers. I have not aught to reckon my groans, but that I love thee best. O most best, believe it. Adieu. Thine evermore, most dear lady, whilst this machine is to him, Hamlet. This in obedience hath my daughter shown me, and more above hath his solicitings, as they fell out by time, by means and place, all given to mine ear.
But how hath she received his love?
What do you think of me?
As of a man faithful and honorable.
I would fain prove so. But what might you think when I had seen this hot love on the wing, as I perceived it, I must tell you that, before my daughter told me, what might you think? No, I went round to work, and my young mistress thus I did bespeak. Lord Hamlet is a prince, out of thy star, this must not be. And then I precepts gave her that she should lock herself from his resort, admit no messengers, receive no tokens, which done, she took the fruits of my advice, and he, repulsed, a short tale to make, fell into a sadness, then into a fast, then to a watch, thence into a weakness, then to a lightness, and by this declension into the madness wherein now he raves, and all we mourn for.
Gertrude, do you think 'tis this?
It may be, very likely.
Take this from this, if this be otherwise. If circumstances lead me, I will find where truth is hid, though it were hid indeed within the center.
How may we try it further?
You know, sometimes he walks 4 hours together here in the lobby.
So he does, indeed.
At such a time I'll loose my daughter to him. Be you and I behind an arras, then, mark the encounter. If he love her not, and be not from his reason fallen thereon, let me be no assistant for estate, but keep a farm and carters.
We will try it.
But look, where sadly the poor wretch comes, reading.
Away, I do beseech you, both, away. I'll board him presently. Oh, give me leave. How does my good Lord Hamlet?
Well, God a mercy.
Do you know me, my lord?
Excellent well. You are a fishmonger.
Not I, my lord.
Then I would you were so honest a man.
Honest, my lord?
Have you a daughter?
I have, my lord.
Let her not walk in the sun. Conception is a blessing, but not as your daughter may conceive. Friend, look to it.
How say you by that? Still harping on my daughter. Yet he knew me not at first. He said I was a fishmonger. He is far gone. And truly in my youth I suffered much extremity for love, very near this. I'll speak to him again. What do you read, my lord?
Words, words, words.
What is the matter, my lord?
Between who?
I mean the matter that you read, my lord.
Slander, sir. For the satirical rogue says here that old men have gray beards, that their faces are wrinkled, their eyes purging thick amber and plum tree gum, and that they have a plentiful lack of wit, together with most weak hams. All which, sir, though I most powerfully and potently believe, yet I hold it not honesty to have it thus set down. For yourself, sir, should be as old as I, if like a crab you could walk backward.
Though this be madness, yet there is method in it. Will you walk out of the air, my lord?
Into my grave?
Indeed, that is out of the air. How pregnant sometimes his replies are, a happiness that often madness hits on, which reason and sanity could not so prosperously be delivered of. I will leave him and suddenly contrive the means of meeting between him and my daughter. My honorable lord, I will most humbly take my leave of you.
You cannot, sir, take from me anything that I will more willingly part withal, except my life, except my life, except my life.
Fare you well, my lord.
These tedious old fools.
You go to seek the Lord Hamlet. There he is.
God save you, sir.
My honored lord.
My most dear lord.
My excellent good friends, how dost thou, Guilderstern? Ah, Rosencrantz, how do you both? What's the news?
Oh, none, my lord, but that the world's grown honest.
Oh, then is doomsday near. But your news is not true. Let me question more in particular. What have you, my good friends, deserved at the hands of fortune that she sends you to prison hither?
Prison, my lord.
Denmark's a prison.
Then is the world one.
A goodly one in which there are many confines, wards, and dungeons, Denmark being one of the worst.
We think not so, my lord.
Why then, 'tis none to you, for there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. To me, it is a prison.
Why then your ambition makes it one. 'Tis too narrow for your mind.
Shall we to the court? For by my fay, I cannot reason.
We'll wait upon you.
No such matter. I will not sort you with the rest of my servants, for to speak to you like an honest man, I am most dreadfully attended. But in the beaten way of friendship, what make you at Elsinore?
To visit you, my lord. No other occasion.
Beggar than I am, I've even poor in thanks. But I thank you. And sure, dear friends, my thanks are too dear a halfpenny. Were you not sent for? Is it your own inclining? Is it a free visitation? Come, deal justly with me. Come, nay, speak.
What should we say, my lord?
Why, anything but to the purpose. You were sent for, and there is a kind of confession in your looks which your modesties have not craft enough to color. I know the good king and queen have sent for you.
To what end, my lord?
That you must teach me. But let me conjure you, by the rights of our fellowship, by the consonancy of our youth, by the obligation of our ever-preserved love, and by what more dear a better proposer could charge you withal, be even and direct with me, whether you were sent for or no.
My lord, we were sent for.
I will tell you why. So shall my anticipation prevent your discovery, and your secrecy to the king and queen mold no feather. I have of late, but wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth, forgone all custom of exercises, and indeed it goes so heavily with my disposition that this goodly frame, the earth, seems to me a sterile promontory. This most excellent canopy, the air, look you, this brave o'erhanging firmament, this majestical roof fretted with golden fire. Why, it appears no other thing to me than a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. What a piece of work is a man! How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. And yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Man delights not me. No, nor woman neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so.
My lord, there was no such stuff in my thoughts.
Why did you laugh then when I said man delights not me?
To think, my lord, if you delight not in man, what Lenten entertainment the players shall receive from you. We coated them on the way, and hither they are coming to offer you service.
He that plays the king shall be welcome. His majesty shall have tribute of me. What players are they?
Even those you were wont to take delight in, the tragedians of the city?
Do they hold the same estimation they did when I was in the city? Are they so followed?
No, indeed, they are not.
How comes it? Do they grow rusty?
Nay, their endeavor keeps in the wonted pace, but there is, sir, an area of children, little asses that cry out on top of question and are most tyrannically clapped for it. These are now the fashion, and so berattle the common stages, so they call them, that many wearing rapiers are afraid of goose quills and dare scarce come thither.
There are the players.
Ladies, you are welcome to Elsinore. Your hands, come then. The appurtenance of welcome is fashion and ceremony. Let me comply with you in this garb, lest my extent to the players, which I tell you must show fairly outward, should more appear like entertainment than yours. You are welcome, but my uncle father and aunt mother are deceived.
In what, my lord?
I am but mad northwest. When the wind is southerly, I know a hawk from a handsaw.
Well be with you, gentlemen.
Hark you, Guilderstern, and you too. At each ear a hearer. That great baby you see there is not yet out of his swaddling clouts.
Happily, he's the second time come to them, for they say an old man is twice a child.
I will prophesy he comes to tell me of the players' market. You say, right, sir? Oh, Monday morning, 'twas so indeed.
My lord, I have news to tell you.
My lord, I have news to tell you. When Roscius was an actor in Rome...
The actors are come hither, my lord.
Then came each actor on his ass.
The best actors in the world, either for tragedy, comedy, history, pastoral, comical, historical, pastoral, tragical, historical, tragical, comical, historical, pastoral, scene indivisible, or poem unlimited. Seneca cannot be too heavy, nor Plautus too light. For the law of writ and the liberty, these are the only men.
Oh, Jephthah, judge of Israel, what a treasure hast thou!
What a treasure had he, my lord?
Why, one fair daughter and no more, the which he loved passing well.
Still on my daughter.
Am I not in the right, old Jephthah?
If you call me Jephthah, my lord, I have a daughter that I love passing well.
You are welcome, masters. Welcome all. I am glad to see thee well. Welcome, good friends. Oh, my old friend, thy face is balanced since I saw thee last. Comest thou to beard me in Denmark? Come, give us a taste of your quality. Come, a passionate speech.
What speech, my lord?
I heard thee speak me a speech once, but it was never acted, or if it was, not above once. For the play I remember pleased not the million. One speech in it I chiefly loved. 'Twas Aeneas's tale to Dido. If it live in your memory, begin at this line. The rugged Pyrrhus, he whose sable arms, black as his purpose, did the night resemble, hath now this dread and black complexion, smeared with eyes like carbuncles, the hellish Pyrrhus, old grandsire Priam seeks. So, proceed you.
For God, my lord, well spoken, with good accent and good discretion.
Anon he finds him, striking too short at Greeks. His antique sword, rebellious to his arm, lies where it falls, repugnant to command, unequal matched. Pyrrhus at Priam drives, enraged strikes wide, but with the width and wind of his fell sword, the unnerved father falls. Then senseless Ilium, seeming to feel this blow with flaming top, stoops to his base, and with a hideous crash takes prisoner Pyrrhus's ear. For lo, his sword, which was declining on the milky head of Reverend Priam, seemed in the air to stick, so is the painted tyrant. Pyrrhus stood, and like a neutral to his will and matter did nothing. But as we often see, against some storm, a silence in the heavens, the rack stands still, the bold winds speechless, and the orb below is hush as death. Anon, the dreadful thunder doth rend the region, so is Pyrrhus's pause. Aroused vengeance sets him to a work, and never did the cyclist hammer fall on Mars' armor forged for proof return, with less remorse than Pyrrhus's bleeding sword now falls on Priam. Out, out, thou strumpet fortune! All you gods in general Sinai, take away her power! Break all the spokes and fellies from her wheel, and bowl the round nave down the hill of heaven, as low as to the fiends.
This is too long.
It shall to the barbers with your beard. Prithee, say on. He's for a jig or a tale of bawdry, or he sleeps. Say on. Come to Hecuba.
But who? Oh! Who has seen the marbled queen?
The marbled queen?
That's good. Marbled queen is good.
Run barefoot, up and down, threatening the flames' abyssin room. A cloak upon that head where late the diadem stood, and for a robe about her length, and all o'er teemed loins a blanket in the alarm of fear caught up. Who this hath seen with tongue in venom steeped, gainst fortune's state with treason have pronounced? But if the gods themselves did see her then, when she saw Pyrrhus make malicious sport in mincing with his sword her husband's limbs, the instant burst of clamor that she made, unless things mortal move them not at all, would have made milch the burning eyes of heaven. And passion in the gods.
Look whether he has not turned his color and has tears in his eyes. Pray you no more.
It is well. I'll have thee speak out the rest soon. Good my lord, will you see the players well bestowed? Do you hear? Let them be well used, for they are the abstract and brief chroniclers of the time. After your death, you were better have a bad epitaph than their ill report while you live.
My lord, I will use them according to their desert.
God's bodkins, man, much better. Use every man after his desert, and who should scape whipping, use them after your own honor and dignity. The less they deserved, the more merit is in your bounty. Take them in.
Come, sirs.
Follow him, friends. We'll hear a play tomorrow. Dost thou hear me, old friend? Can you play The Murder of Gonzago?
Aye, my lord.
We'll have tomorrow night. You could, for a need, study a speech of some 12 or 16 lines, which I would set down and insert in it. Could you not?
Aye, my lord.
Very well. Follow that lord, and look you mock him not. My good friends, I'll leave you till tonight. You are welcome to Elsinore.
Good, my lord.
Aye, so. God be with thee. Now I am alone. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I. Is it not monstrous that this player here, but in a fiction, in a dream of passion, could force his soul to so to his own conceit, that from her working all his visage waned, tears in his eyes, distraction in his aspect, a broken voice, and his whole function suiting with forms to his conceit, and all for nothing, for Hecuba. What's Hecuba to him, or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her? What would he do had he the motive and the cue for passion that I have? He would drown the stage with tears and cleave the general ear with horrid speech. make mad the guilty and appall the free, confound the ignorant, and amaze indeed the very faculties of eyes and ears. What an ass am I! This is most brave, that I, the son of a dear father murdered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, must, like a whore, unpack my heart with words and fall a-cursing like a very drab, a scullion. Fie upon it! About my brain! I have heard that guilty creatures sitting at a play have by the very cunning of the scene been struck so to the soul that presently they have proclaimed their malefactions. For murder, though it hath no tongue, will speak with most miraculous organ. I'll have these players play something like the murder of my father before mine uncle. I'll observe his looks, I'll tend him to the quick. If he but blench, I know my course. The spirit that I have seen may be the devil, and the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape, yea, and perhaps out of my weakness and my melancholy, as is very potent with such spirits, abuses me to damn me. I'll have grounds more relative than this. The play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king.
And can you, by no drift of circumstance, get from him how he puts on this confusion, grating so harshly all his days of quiet with turbulent and dangerous lunacy?
He does confess he feels himself distracted, but from what cause he will by no means speak.
Nor do we find him forward to be sounded, but with crafty madness keeps aloof when we would bring him on to some confession of his true state.
Did he receive you well?
Oh, most like a gentleman.
But with much forcing of his disposition.
Did you essay him to any pastime?
Madam, it so fell out that certain players we o'erwrought on the way, of these we told him, and there did see in him a kind of joy to hear of it. They are about the court, and as I think, they have already ordered this night to play before him.
'Tis most true, and he beseeched me to entreat your majesties to hear and see the matter.
With all my heart, and it doth much content me to hear him so inclined. Good ladies, give him a further edge, and drive his purpose onto these delights.
We shall, my lord.
Sweet Gertrude, leave us too, for we have closely sent for Hamlet hither, that he, as 'twere by accident, may here affront Ophelia. The father and myself, lawful espials, we will so bestow ourselves, that seeing unseen, we may of their encounter frankly judge, and gather by him as he has behaved, if it be the affliction of his love, or no, that thus he suffers for.
I shall obey you. And for your part, Ophelia, I do wish that your good beauties be the happy cause of Hamlet's wildness. So shall I hope your virtues will bring him to his wonted way again, to both your honors.
Madam, I wish it may.
Ophelia, walk you here. Gracious, so please you, will bestow ourselves. Read on this book, that show of such an exercise may color your loneliness. We are oft to blame in this, 'tis too much proved, that with devotion's visage and pious action, we do sugar o'er the devil himself.
Oh, 'tis true. How smart a lash that speech doth give my conscience. The harlot's cheek, beautied with plastering art, is not more ugly to the thing that helps it than is my deed to my most painted word. Oh, heavy burden.
I hear him coming. Let's withdraw, my lord.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take up arms against a sea of troubles, and by thus opposing end them. To die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to, 'tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietest make with a bare bodkin? Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of? Thus, conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought. And enterprises of great pith and moment with this regard their currents turn awry and lose the name of action. Soft you now, the fair Ophelia. Nymph, in thy orisons be all my sins remembered.
Good, my lord. How does your honor for this many a day?
I humbly thank you. Well.
My lord, I have remembrances of yours that I have longed to redeliver. I pray you now receive them.
No, not I. I never gave you aught.
My honored lord, you know right well you did, and with them words of so sweet breath composed as made the things more rich, their perfume lost. Take these again, for to the noble mind rich gifts wax poor when givers prove unkind. Oh, there, my lord.
Are you honest?
My lord?
Are you fair?
What means your lordship?
That if you be honest and fair, your honesty should admit no discourse to your beauty.
Could beauty, my lord, have better commerce than with honesty?
Aye, truly, for the power of beauty will sooner transform honesty from what it is to a bawd than the force of honesty can translate beauty into his likeness. This was sometime a paradox, but now the time gives it proof. I did love you once.
Indeed, my lord, you made me believe so.
You should not have believed me, for virtue cannot so inoculate our old stock, but we shall relish of it. I loved you not.
I was the more deceived.
Get thee to a nunnery. Why wouldst thou be a breeder of sinners? I am myself indifferent honest, but yet I could accuse me of such things that it were better my mother had not borne me. I am very proud, revengeful, ambitious, with more offenses at my beck than I have thoughts to put them in, imagination to give them shape, or time to act them in. What should fellows as I do crawling between earth and heaven? We are errant knaves, all. Believe none of us. Go thy ways to a nunnery. Where's your father?
At home, my lord.
Let the doors be shut upon him, that he may play the fool nowhere but in his own house. Farewell.
Oh, help him, you sweet heavens.
If thou dost marry, I'll give thee this plague for thy dowry. Be thou as chaste as ice, as pure as snow, thou shalt not escape calumny. Get thee to a nunnery, go, farewell. Or if thou wilt needs marry, marry a fool. For wise men know well enough what monsters you make of them. To a nunnery go, and quickly too, farewell.
Oh, heavenly powers, restore him.
I have heard of your paintings too, well enough. God has given you one face, and you make yourselves another. You jig, you amble, and you lisp. You nickname God's creatures, and you make your wantonness your ignorance. Go to. I'll know more of it. It hath made me mad. I say we will have no more marriages. Those that are married already, all but one shall live. The rest shall keep as they are. To a nunnery, go.
Oh, what a noble mind is here o'erthrown. The courtiers, soldiers, scholars, eye, tongue, sword, the expectancy and rose of the fair state, the glass of fashion and the mold of form, the observed of all observers quite down. And I, of ladies most deject and wretched that sucked the honey of his music vows, now see that noble and most sovereign reason. Like sweet bells jangled out of tune and harsh, that unmatched form and feature of blown youth blasted with ecstasy. Oh, woe is he, to have seen what I have seen, see what I see.
Love! His affections do not that way tend, nor what he spake, though it lacked form a little, was not like madness. There's something in his soul o'er which his melancholy sits on brood, and I do doubt the haps in the disclosed will be some danger. Which for to prevent, I have in quick determination thus set it down. He shall with speed to England for the demand of our neglected tribute. Haply the seas and countries different with variable objects shall expel this something settled matter in his heart, whereon his brains still beating put him thus from fashion of himself. What think you on it?
It shall do well, but yet I do believe the origin and commencement of his grief sprung from neglected love. How now, Ophelia? You need not tell us what Lord Hamlet said. We heard it all. My lord, do as you please, but if you hold it fit, after the play, let his queen mother all alone entreat him to show his grief. Let her be round with him, and I'll be placed, so please you, in the ear of all their confidence. If she find him not, to England send him, or confine him where your wisdom shall think best.
It shall be so. Madness in great ones must not unwatched go.
Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you, trippingly on the tongue. But if you mouth it as many of our players do, I had as lief the town crier spoke my lines. Nor do not saw the air too much with your hand thus, but use all gently. For in the very torrent, tempest, and as I may say, the whirlwind of your passion, you must acquire and beget a temperance that may give it smoothness. Be not too tame neither, but let your own discretion be your tutor. Suit the action to the word to the action, with this special observance, that you o'erstep not the modesty of nature. For anything so overdone is from the purpose of playing, whose end both at the first and now was and is to hold as 'twere the mirror up to nature, to show virtue her own feature, scorn her own image, and the very age and body of the time his form and pressure. Now, this overdone, or come tardy off, though it make the unskillful laugh, cannot but make the judicious grieve.
I hope we have reformed that indifferently with us, sir.
Oh, reform it altogether. And let those that play your clowns speak no more than is set down for them, for they be of them that will themselves laugh, to set on some quantity of barren spectators to laugh too, though in the meantime some necessary question of the play be then to be considered. That's villainous, and shows a most pitiful ambition in the fool that uses it. Go, make you ready. How now, my lord? I will the king hear this piece of work?
And the queen too, and that presently.
Bid the players make haste.
We will, my lord.
What ho, Horatio!
My sweet lord, I'm at your service.
Horatio, thou art even as just a man as e'er my conversation coped withal.
Oh, my dear lord.
There is a play tonight before the king. One scene of it comes near the circumstance which I have told thee of my father's death. I prithee, when thou seest the act afoot, even with the very comment of thy soul, observe mine uncle. If his occulted guilt do not itself unkennel in one speech, it is a damned ghost that we have seen. Give him heedful note, for I mine eyes will rivet to his face, and after we will both our judgments join in censure of his seeming.
Well, my lord, if he steal aught whilst this play is playing and escape detecting, I will pay the theft.
They are coming to the play. I must be idle. Get you a place.
How fares our cousin Hamlet?
Excellent in faith. Of the chameleon's dish, I eat the air promised crammed. You cannot feed capons so.
I have nothing with this answer, Hamlet. These words are not mine.
No, nor mine now. My lord, you played once in the university, you say?
That I did, my lord, and was accounted a good actor.
What did you enact?
I did enact Julius Caesar. I was killed in the Capitol. Brutus killed me.
It was a brute part of him to kill so capital a calf there. Be the players ready.
Aye, my lord, they stay upon your patience.
Oh, come hither, my dear Hamlet. Sit by me.
No, good mother. Here's metal more attractive.
Oh, do you mark that?
Lady, shall I lie in your lap?
No, my lord.
I mean my head upon your lap.
Aye, my lord.
Do you think I meant country matters?
You are merry, my lord.
Who, I?
Aye, my lord.
Oh, God, you're only jig maker. What should a man do but be merry? For look you how cheerfully my mother looks, and my father died within these 2 hours.
Nay, 'tis twice 2 months, my lord.
So long? Nay, then, let the devil wear black, for I'll have a suit of sables. Oh, heavens, died 2 months ago and not forgotten yet? Ha, then there's hope a great man's memory may outlive his life half a year.
I'll mark the play.
For us and for our tragedy, here stooping to your clemency, we beg your hearing patiently.
Is this a prologue or the posy of a ring?
'Tis brief, my lord.
As woman's love.
Full 30 times hath Phoebus' cart gone round Neptune's salt wash and Tellus' orbit ground. And 30 dozen moons with borrowed sheen about the world have times 12 30s been, since love our hearts and Hymen did our hands unite commutal in most sacred bands.
So many journeys may the sun and moon make us again count ere our love be done. But woe is me, you are so sick of late, so far from cheer and from your former state, that I distrust you. Yet though I discomfort you, my lord, it nothing must. For women's fear and love holds quantity in neither aught or in extremity. Now what my love is, proof hath made you know. And as my love is sized, my fear is so. Where love is great, the littlest doubts are fear. Where little fears grow great, great love grows there.
Faith, I must leave thee, love, and shortly too. My operant powers their functions leave to do. And thou shalt live in this fair world behind, honored, beloved, and haply one as kind for husband shalt
Oh,
thou.
confound the rest. Such love must needs be treason in my breast. In second husband, let me be accursed. None wed the second, but who killed the first?
Wormwood, wormwood.
The instances that second marriage move are base respects of thrift, but none of love. A second time I kill my husband dead, when second husband kisses me in bed.
I do believe you think what now you speak. So think thou wilt no second husband wed. But die thy thoughts when thy first lord is dead.
Nor earth to me give food, nor heaven light. Sport and repose lock from me day and night. To desperation turn my hope, trust and hope, and anchor's cheer in prison be my scope. Each opposite that blanks the face of joy, meet what I would have well and it destroy. Both here and hence pursue me lasting strife, if once a widow, ever I be wife.
If she should break it now.
'Tis deeply sworn. Sweet, leave me here a while. My spirits grow dull, and fain I would beguile the tedious day with sleep.
Sleep rock thy brain, and never come mischance between us twain.
Madam, how like you this play?
The lady protests too much, methinks.
Oh, but she'll keep her word.
Have you heard the argument? Is there no offense in it?
No, no, they do but jest. Poison in jest, no offense in the world.
What do you call the play?
The Mousetrap. Mary, how? Tropically. This play is the image of a murder done in Vienna. This is one Lucianus, nephew to the king.
You are as good as a chorus, my lord.
I could interpret between you and your love if I could see the puppets dallying.
You are keen, my lord, you are keen.
It would cost you a groaning to take off my edge.
Still better and worse.
So you must take your husbands. Begin, murderer! Pox, leave thy damnable faces and begin. Come, the croaking raven doth bellow for revenge.
Faults black, hands apt, drugs fit and time agreeing, confederate season else no creature seeing. Thou mixture rank of midnight weeds collected, with Hecate's ban thrice blasted, thrice infected. Thy natural magic and dire property on wholesome life usurp immediately.
Poisons him in the garden for his estate. His name's Gonzago. The story is extant and writ in choice Italian. You shall see anon how the murderer gets the love of Gonzago's wife.
The king rises.
What? Frighted with false fire?
How fares my lord?
Give o'er the play.
Give you some light. Away!
Why, let the stricken deer go weep, the heart ungalled play. For some must watch while some must sleep, so runs the world away. Would not this earn a forest of feathers, if the rest of my fortunes turn Turk with me, with 2 provincial roses on my raised shoes? Get me a fellowship and a cry of player, sir.
Half a share?
A whole one, aye. For thou dost know, O Damon dear, this realm dismantled was of Jove himself, and now reigns here a very, very Pajock.
You might have rhymed.
Oh, good Horatio, I'll take the ghost's word for £1,000. Didst perceive?
Very well, my lord.
Upon the talk of the poisoning.
I did very well note him.
Ha ha! Come, some music! Come, the recorders! For if the king like not the comedy, why then belike he likes it not, Purdy. Come, some music!
Good, my lord, vouchsafe me a word with you.
Sir, a whole history.
The king, sir,
Aye, sir, what of him?
is in his retirement marvelous distempered.
With drink, sir?
No, my lord, rather with choler.
Your wisdom should show itself more richer to signify this to his doctor. For me to put him in his purgation would perhaps plunge him into far more choler.
Good, my lord, put your discourse into some frame. Start not so wildly from my affair. The queen, your mother, in most great affliction of spirit, hath sent me to you.
You are welcome.
Nay, good my lord, this courtesy is not of the right breed. If it shall please you to make me a wholesome answer, I will do your mother's commandment. If not, your pardon and my return shall be the end of my business.
Sir, I cannot.
What, my lord?
Make you a wholesome answer. My wit's diseased. But, sir, such answer as I can make you shall command. Or rather, as you say, my mother. Therefore, no more, but to the matter. My mother, you say?
Then thus she says your behavior hath struck her into amazement and admiration.
Oh, wonderful son that can so astonish a mother. But is there no sequel at the heels of this mother's admiration? Impart.
She desires to speak with you in her closet ere you go to bed.
We shall obey were she 10 times our mother. Have you any further trade with us?
My lord, you did love me once.
So I do still by these pickers and stealers.
Good my lord, what is your cause of distemper? You do surely bar the doors upon your own liberty if you deny your griefs to your friend.
Oh, the recorders! Let me see one. To withdraw with you. Why do you go about to recover the wind of me as if you would drive me into a toil?
Oh, my lord, if my duty be too bold, my love is unmannerly.
I do not well understand that. Will you play upon this pipe?
My lord, I cannot.
I pray you.
Believe me, I cannot.
I do beseech you.
I know no touch of it, my lord.
'Tis as easy as lying. Govern these vintages with your fingers and thumb. Give it breath with your mouth, and it will discourse most eloquent music. Look you, these are the stops.
But these cannot I command to any utterance of harmony. I have not the skill.
Why, look you now, how unworthy a thing you make of me. You would play upon me. You would seem to know my stops. You would pluck out the heart of my mystery. You would sound me from my lowest note to the top of my compass. Oh, and there is such music, excellent voice in this little organ, yet cannot you make it speak. It's blood. Do you think I am easier to be played on than a pipe? Call me what instrument you will. Though you can fret me, yet you cannot play upon me.
My lord, the queen would speak with you, and presently.
Do you see yonder cloud that's almost in shape of a camel?
By the mast, 'tis like a camel indeed.
Methinks it is like a weasel.
It is backed like a weasel.
Or like a whale.
Very like a whale.
Then I will come to my mother by and by. They fool me to the top of my bent. I will come by and by.
I will say so.
By and by is easily said. Leave me, friends. 'Tis now the very witching time of night, when churchyards yawn and hell itself breathes out contagion to this world. Now could I drink hot blood and do such bitter business as the day would quake to look on. Soft. Now to my mother.
I like him not, nor stands it safe with us to let his madness range. Therefore prepare you. I your commission will forthwith dispatch, and he to England shall along with you. The terms of our estate may not endure hazard so dangerous as doth hourly grow out of his lunacies.
We will ourselves provide. Most holy and religious fear it is to keep those many, many bodies safe that live and feed upon your majesty.
Arm you, I pray you, to this speedy voyage. For we will fetters put upon this fear, which now grows too free-footed.
We will haste us.
My lord, he's going to his mother's closet. Behind the arras I'll convey myself to hear the process, and warrant she'll tax him home. And as you said, and wisely was it said, 'tis meet that some more audience than a mother, since nature makes them partial, should o'erhear the speech of vantage. Fare you well, my liege. I'll call upon you ere you go to bed, and tell you what I know.
Thanks, dear my lord. Oh, my offense is rank. It smells to heaven. It hath the primal eldest curse upon it. A brother's murder. Pray, can I not, though inclination be as sharp as will? My stronger guilt defeats my strong intent. Like a man to double business bound, I stand in pause where I shall first begin in both neglect. What if this cursed hand were thicker than itself with brother's blood? Is there not rain enough in the sweet heavens to wash it white as snow? Whereto serves mercy but to confront the visage of offense? And what's in prayer but this twofold force to be forestalled ere we come to fall, or pardon being down? Then I'll look up. My fault is past. But oh, what form of prayer can serve my turn? Forgive me my foul murder. That cannot be, since I am still possessed of those effects for which I did the murder. My crown, mine own ambition, and my queen. May one be pardoned and retain the offense? In the corrupted currents of this world, offence's gilded hand may shove by justice, and oft 'tis seen the wicked prize itself buys out the law, but 'tis not so above. There is no shuffling. There the action lies in his true nature, and we ourselves compelled, even to the teeth and forehead of our faults, to give in evidence. What then? What rest? Try what repentance can, what can it not? Yet what can it when one cannot repent? Oh, wretched state! Oh, bosom black as death! Oh, limed soul that struggling to be free art more engaged! Help, angels! Make essay. Bow, stubborn knees, and heart with strings of steel be soft as sinews of the newborn babe. All may be well.
Now might I do it, Pat. Now he is praying. And now I'll do it. And so he goes to heaven, and so am I revenged. That would be scanned. A villain kills my father, and for that I, his sole son, do this same villain send to heaven. Oh, this is hire and salary, not revenge. He took my father grossly, full of bread, with all his crimes broad blonde, as flush as May. And how his audit stands, who knows save heaven? No, upsword. And know thou a more horrid hint, when he is drunk asleep, or in his rage, or in the incestuous pleasure of his bed, then trip him, that his heels may kick at heaven, and that his soul may be as damned and black as hell whereto he goes. My mother stays. This physic but prolongs thy sickly days.
My words fly up, my thoughts remain below. Words without thoughts never to heaven go.
He will come straight. Look you, lay home to him. Tell him his pranks have been too broad to bear with, and that your grace hath screened and stood between much heat and him. I'll sconce me even here. Pray you, be round with him.
Mother! Mother! Mother!
I warrant you fear me not. Withdraw, I hear him coming.
Now, mother, what's the matter?
Hamlet, thou hast thy father much offended.
Mother, you have my father much offended.
Oh, come, come, you answer with an idle tongue.
Go, go, you question with a wicked tongue.
Why, how now, Hamlet? Have you
No,
forgot me?
by the rood, not so. You are the queen, your husband's brother's wife, and would it were not so, you are my mother.
Nay, then I'll set those to you that can speak.
Come, come and sit you down. You shall not budge. You go not till I set you up a glass where you may see the inmost part of you.
What wilt thou do? Thou wilt not murder me. Help! Help! Oh!
Oh, help, help, help.
How now, a rat? Dead for a ducat! Dead!
Oh, I am slain.
Oh, me, what hast thou done?
Nay, I know not. Is it the king?
Oh, what a rash and bloody deed is this!
A bloody deed, almost as bad, good mother, as kill a king and marry with his brother.
As kill a king!
Aye, lady, 'twas my word. Thou wretched, rash, intruding fool. Farewell. I took thee for thy better. Take thy fortune. Thou find'st to be too busy is some danger. Oh, leave wringing of your hands. Peace! Sit you down and let me wring your heart, for so I shall.
What have I done that thou darest wag thy tongue in noise so rude against me?
Such an act that blurs the grace and modesty of nature, calls virtue hypocrite, takes off the rose from the fair forehead of an innocent love, and sets a blister there, makes marriage vows as false as dice's oaths. Oh, such a deed is from the body of contraction, plucks the very soul, and sweet religion makes a rhapsody of words. Heaven's face doth glow, yea, this solidity and compound massed with tristful visage, as against the doom, is thought sick at the act.
Ay me, what act that roars so loud and thunders in the index?
Look here, upon this picture, and this, the counterfeit presentment of two brothers. This was your husband. Look you now what follows. Here is your husband, like a mildewed ear, blasting his wholesome brother. Have you eyes? Could you on this fair mountain leave to feed and batten on this moor? Huh? Have you eyes? You cannot call it love, for at your age the heyday in the blood is tame. It's humble and waits upon the judgment. What judgment would step from this to this?
Hamlet, speak no more. Thou turn'st mine eyes into my very soul, and there I see such black and grained spots as will not leave their tinct.
Nay, but to live in the rank sweat of an enseamed bed, stewed in corruption, honeying and making love over the nasty sty.
Oh, speak to me no more. These words like daggers enter in mine ears no more, sweet Hamlet.
A murderer and a villain, a slave that is not 20th part the tithe of your precedent lord, a vice of kings, a cut-purse of the empire and the rule, that from a shelf the precious diadem stole and put in his pocket.
No more.
A king of shreds and patches. Oh, save me, and hover o'er me with your wings, you heavenly gods. What would your gracious figure?
Alas, he's mad.
Do not come your tardy son to chide, that lapsed in time and passion. Let's go by the important act of your dread command. Oh, say!
Do not forget this visitation is but to whet thy almost blunted purpose. But look, amazement on thy mother sits. O step between her and her fighting soul, conceit in weakest body's strongest works. Speak to her, Hamlet.
How is it with you, lady?
Alas, how is't with you? that you do bend your eye on vacancy, and with the incorporeal air do hold discourse. Forth at your eyes your spirits wildly peep, and as the sleeping soldiers in the alarm, your bedded hair, like life in excrement, stands up and starts on end. Oh, gentle sun, upon the heat and flame of thy distemper sprinkle cool patience. Whereon do you look?
Him, on him. Look you how pale he glares. His form and cause disjoined, preaching to stones would make them capable. Do not look upon me, lest with this piteous action you convert my stern effects. Then what I have to do will want true color, tears perchance for blood.
To whom do you speak this?
Do you see nothing there?
Nothing at all, yet all that is I see.
Nor do you nothing hear?
No, nothing but ourselves.
Look you there. Look how he steals away. My father in his habit as he lived. Look where he goes even now, out at the portal.
This is the very coinage of your brain. This bodiless creation ecstasy is very cunning in.
Ecstasy! My pulse as yours doth temperately keep time and makes as healthful music. It is not madness that I have uttered. Bring me to the test, and I the matter will reword which madness would gamble from. Mother, for love of grace, lay not that mattering unction to your soul, that not your trespass but my madness speaks. It will but skin and film the ulcerous place, whilst rank corruption, mining all within, infects unseen. Confess yourself to heaven. Repent what's past, avoid what is to come, and do not spread the compost on the weeds to make them ranker. Forgive me this my virtue, for in the fatness of these pursy times, virtue itself of vice must pardon beg, curb and woo for leave to do him good.
No, Hamlet, thou hast cleft my heart in twain.
Oh, throw away the worser part of it and live the purer with the other half. Good night. But go not to mine uncle's bed. Assume a virtue if you have it not. Refrain tonight, and that shall lend a kind of easiness to the next abstinence. Once more, good night. And when you are desirous to be blessed, I'll blessing beg of you. For this same Lord I do repent, but heaven hath pleased it so to punish me with this and this with me, that I must be their scourge and minister. I will bestow him and will answer well the death I gave him. So again, good night. I must be cruel only to be kind. Thus, bad begins and worse remains behind. One more word, good lady.
What shall I do?
Not this, by no means, that I bid you do. Let the bloat king tempt you again to bed, pinch wanton on your cheek, call you his mouse, and let him for a pair of reechy kisses, or paddling in your neck with his damned fingers, make you to ravel all this matter out, that I essentially am not in madness, but mad in craft. 'Twere good you let him know. For who that's but a queen, fair, sober, wise, would from a paddock, from a bat, a gib, such dear concernings hide?
Be thou assured, if words be made of breath and breath of life, I have no life to breathe what thou hast said to me.
I must to England, you know that.
Alack, I had forgot 'tis so concluded on.
There's letters sealed. and my 2 schoolmates, whom I will trust as I will adders fanged. They bear the mandate. They must sweep my way and marshal me to knavery. Let it work, for 'tis the sport to have the engineer hoist with his own petard, and it shall go hard, but I will delve 1 yard below their minds and blow them to the moon. This man shall set me packing. I'll lug the guts into the neighbor room. Mother, good night. Indeed, this counselor is now most still, most secret, and most grave, who was in life a foolish, prating knave. Come, sir, to draw forward and end with you. Good night, mother.
There's matter in these sighs, these profound heaves. You must translate as fit we understand them. Where is your son?
Bestow this place on us a little while. Oh, my good lord, what I have seen tonight.
What, Gertrude? How does Hamlet?
Mad as the sea and wind when both contend which is the mightier. In his lawless fit, behind the arras, hearing something stir, whips out his rapier, cries, a rat, and in this brainish apprehension kills the unseen good old man.
Oh, heavy deed. It had been so with us had we been there. His liberty is full of threats to all, to you, yourself, to us, to everyone. Alas, how shall this bloody deed be answered? Where is he gone?
To draw apart the body he hath killed, or who his very madness, like some ore among a mineral of metals base, shows itself pure. He weeps for what is done.
Oh, Gertrude, come away. The sun no sooner shall the mountains touch, but we will ship him hence. In this vile deed we must, with all our majesty and skill, both countenance and excuse. Ho, Guilderstern! Friends, both, go join you with some further aid. Hamlet in madness hath Polonius slain, and from his mother's closet hath he dragged him. Go, seek him out, speak fair, and bring the body into the chapel. I pray you, hasten this! Come, Gertrude. We'll call up our wisest friends, and let them know both what we mean to do and what's untimely done. Oh, come away. My soul is full of discord and dismay.
Safely stowed.
Lord Hamlet!
What noise? Who calls on Hamlet? Oh, here they come.
What have you done, my lord, with the dead body? Tell us where 'tis that we may take it thence and bear it to the chapel.
Do not believe it.
Believe what?
That I can keep your counsel and not mine own. Besides, to be demanded of a sponge, what replication should be made by the son of a king?
Take you me for a sponge, my lord?
Aye, sir, that soaks up the king's countenance, his rewards, his authorities. But such officers do the king best service in the end. He keeps them like an ape in the corner of his jaw, first mouthed to be last swallowed. When he needs what you have gleaned, it is but squeezing you, and sponge, you shall be dry again.
I understand you not, my lord.
I am glad of it. A knavish speech sleeps in a foolish ear.
My lord, you must tell us where the body is and go with us to the king.
The body is with the king, but the king is not with the body. The king is a thing.
A thing, my lord.
Of nothing. Bring me to him. Hide fox and all after.
I have sent to seek him and to find the body. How dangerous is it that this man goes loose? Yet must we not put the strong law on him? He's loved of the distracted multitude who like not in their judgment but their eyes. And where 'tis so, the offender's scourge is weighed, but never the offense. To bear all smooth and even, the sudden sending him away must seem deliberate pause. Diseases desperate grown by desperate appliance are relieved, or not at all. How now? What hath befallen?
Where the dead body is bestowed, my lord, we cannot get from him.
But where is he?
Without, my lord, guarded to know your pleasure.
Bring him before us.
Ho, Guildenstern, bring in my lord.
Now, Hamlet, where's Polonius?
At supper.
At supper? Where?
Not where he eats, but where he is eaten. A certain convocation of politic worms are eaten at him. Your worm is your only emperor for diet. We fat all creatures else to fat us, and we fat ourselves for maggots. Your fat king and your lean beggar is but variable service, 2 dishes but to 1 table. That's the end. A man may fish with the worm that hath eat of a king, and eat of the fish that hath fed of that worm.
What dost you mean by this?
Nothing but to show you how a king may go a progress through the guts of a beggar.
Where is Polonius?
In heaven. Send hither to see. If your messenger find him not there, seek him in the other place yourself. But indeed, if you find him not within this month, you shall nose him as you go up the stairs into the lobby.
Go seek him there.
He will stay till ye come.
Hamlet, this deed for thine especial safety, for which we do tender, as we dearly grieve for that which thou hast done, must send thee hence with fiery quickness. Therefore prepare thyself. The bark is ready, and the wind in help, the associates tend, and everything is bent for England.
For England.
Aye, Hamlet.
Good.
So is it, if thou knewest our purposes.
I see a cherub that sees them. But come, for England, farewell, dear mother.
Follow him at foot, tempt him with speed, aboard, delay it not, I'll have him hence tonight. Away, for everything is sealed and done, that else leans on the affair. Pray you, make haste. In England, if my love thou hold'st at aught, as my great power thereof may give thee sense, since yet thy cicatrice looks red and raw after the Danish sword, and thy free all pays homage to us, thou mayst not coldly set our sovereign process, which enforce it full by letters congruing to that effect, the imprisoned death of Hamlet. Do it, England, for like the hectic in my blood he rages, and thou must cure me. Till I know 'tis done, however mayhaps my joys were ne'er begun.
Go, captain, from me greet the Danish king. Tell him that by his license Fortinbras craves the conveyance of a promised march over his kingdom. You know the rendezvous. If that his majesty would aught with us, we shall express our duty in his eye. Let him know so.
Good sir, whose powers are these?
They are of Norway, sir.
How purposed, sir, I pray you?
Against some part of Poland.
Who commands them, sir?
The nephew to Old Norway, Fortinbras.
Goes it against the main of Poland, sir, or for some frontier?
Truly to speak, and with no addition. We go to gain a little patch of ground that hath in it no profit but the name. To pay 5 ducats, 5! I would not farm it, nor will it yield to Norway or the Pole a ranker rate, should it be sold in fee.
Why, then the Polak never will defend it.
Ah, yes, it is already garrisoned.
2,000 souls and 20,000 ducats will not debate the question of this straw. This is the impostune of much wealth and peace that inward breaks and shows no cause without why the man dies. I humbly thank you, sir.
God be with you, sir.
Will't please you go, my lord?
I'll be with you straight. Go a little before. How all occasions do inform against me and spur my dull revenge. What is a man if his chief good and market of his time be but to sleep and feed? A beast no more. I do not know why, yet I live to say this thing's to do, sith I have cause and will and strength and means to do it. Examples gross as earth exhort me. Witness this army of such mass and charge, led by a delicate and tender prince, whose spirit with divine ambition puffed mixed mouths at the invisible event, exposing what is mortal and unsure to all that fortune, death, and danger that dare, even for an eggshell. Rightly to be great is not to stir without great argument, but greatly to find quarrel in a straw when honor's at the stake. How stand I then, that have a father killed, a mother stained, excitements of my reason and my blood, and let all sleep, while to my shame I see the imminent death of 20,000 men, that for a fantasy and trick of fame go to their graves like beds, fight for a plot wherein the numbers cannot try the cause, which is not too enough and continent to hide the slain? Oh, from this time forth my thoughts be bloody or nothing worth.
Let her come in. To my sick soul, as sin's true nature is, each toy seems prologue to some great amiss. So full of artless jealousy is guilt, it spills itself in fearing to be spilt.
Where is the beauteous majesty of Denmark?
How now, Ophelia?
How should I your true love know from another one, by his cockle hat and staff and his sandal shorn?
At last, sweet lady, what imports this song?
Say you? Nay, pray you, mark. He is dead and gone, lady, he is dead and gone. At his head a grass-green turf, at his heels a stone.
Nay, but Ophelia...
Pray you, mark. Whitish shroud as the mountain snow.
Alas, look here, my lord.
Larded with sweet flowers, which we wept to the grave did go, with true love showers.
How do you, pretty lady?
Well, God help you. They say the owl was a baker's daughter. Lord, we know what we are, but we know not what we may be. God be at your table.
Conceit upon her father.
Pray you, let's have no words of this. When they ask you what it means, say you this. Tomorrow is St. Valentine's Day, all in the morning betime, and I am made at your window to be your Valentine. And up he rose and donned his clothes and up the chamber door, let in the maid, then out a maid, never departed more.
How long hath she been thus?
I hope all will be well. We must be patient, but cannot choose but weep. Think, they should lay him in the cold ground. My brother shall know of it. And so I thank you for your good counsel. Come, my coach. Good night, ladies. Good night, sweet ladies. Good night. Good night.
Follow her close. Give her good watch, I pray you. Oh, this is the poison of deep grief. It springs all from her father's death. Oh, Gertrude, Gertrude, when sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions. First her father slain, next your son gone, and he most violent author of his own just remove. The people muddied, thick and unwholesome in their thoughts and whispers for good Polonius' death. And we have done but greenly and hugger-mugger to inter him. Poor Ophelia, divided from herself and her fair judgment, without the which we are pictures or mere beast. Last, and as much containing as all these, her brother is in secret come from France, feeds on his wonder, keeps himself in clouds, and wants not buzzers to infect his ear with pestilent speeches of his father's death, wherein necessity of matter beggared with nothing stick our person to arraign in ear and ear. Oh, my dear Gertrude, this, like to a murdering peace in many places, gives me superfluous death.
Alack, what noise is this?
Where are my Switzers? Let them guard the door. What is the matter?
Save yourself, my lord. The ocean, o'erpeening of his lists, eats not the flats with more impetuous haste than young Laertes in a riotous head o'erbears your officers. The rabble call him lord. They cry, choose we, Laertes shall be king, Laertes shall be king, Laertes king.
How cheerfully on the false trail they cry. Oh, this is counter, you false Danish dogs.
The doors are broke.
Where is the king? Sirs, stand you all without. I pray you, give me leave. I thank you. Keep the door. O thou vile king, give me my father!
Calmly, good Laertes.
What is the cause, Laertes, that thy rebellion looks so giant-like? Let him go, Gertrude. Do not fear our person. Tell me, Laertes, why thou art thus incensed. Let him go, Gertrude. Speak, man.
Where is my father?
Dead.
But not by him.
Let him demand his fill.
How came he dead? I'll not be juggled with. To hell allegiance, vows to the blackest devil, conscience and grace to the profoundest pit. I dare damnation. And to this point I stand, that both the worlds I give to negligence, let come what comes, only I'll be revenged most thoroughly for my father.
Who shall stay you?
I will not all the world, and for my means I'll husband them so well they shall go far with little.
Good Laertes, if you desire to know the certainty of your dear father's death, is it written your revenge to swoopstick you will draw both friend and foe, winner and loser?
None but his enemies.
Will you know them then?
To his good friends thus wide I'll ope my arms, and like the kind life-rendering pelican repass them with my blood.
Why, now you speak like a good child and a true gentleman. That I am guiltless of your father's death, and am most sensible in grief for it, it shall as level to your judgment pierce as day does to your eye.
Oh no. What noise is that? Oh, heat. Dry up my brains. Tears 7 times salt. Burn out the sense and virtue of mine eye. By heaven, thy madness shall be paid by weight, till our scale turn the beam. Rose of May, dear maid, kind sister, sweet Ophelia. Oh, heavens. Is it possible a young maid's wit should be as moral as an old man's life? Nature is fine in love, and where 'tis fine, it sends some precious instance of itself after the thing it loves.
For him bare-faced on the bier, hey nonny, and in his grave reigned many a tear. Fare you well, my dove.
Thou thy wits, and didst persuade revenge, she could not move thus.
You must sing adown, and you call him a downer. Oh, how the wheel becomes it. It is the false steward that stole his master's daughter.
Something's more than matter.
There's rosemary, that's for remembrance. Pray, love, remember. And there is pansies, that's for thoughts.
Document in madness, thoughts and remembrance fitted.
There's fennel for you, and columbines. There's rue for you. There's sun for me. We may call it herb brace o' Sundays. Oh, you must wear your rue with a difference. There's a daisy. I would give you some violets, but they withered all when my father died. They say he made a good end. For bonny sweet Robin is all my joy.
What an affliction, passion, hell itself she turns to favor and to prettiness.
And will he not come again? Will he not come again? No, he is dead. Go to thy deathbed. He never will come again. His beard was as white as snow. A flaxen was his poll. He is gone, and to be cast away moan. God have mercy on his soul, and all of Christian souls. I pray God be with you.
Do you see this? Oh God.
Laertes, I must come in with your grief, or you deny me right. Go but apart. Make choice of whom your wisest friends you will. Be you content to lend your patience to us, and we shall jointly labor with your soul to give it due content.
Let this be so. This means of death, his obscure funeral. No trophy sword, nor hatchman o'er his bones, no noble right, nor formal ostentation cry to be heard, as 'twere from heaven to earth, that I must call it in question.
So you shall. And where the offense is, let the great axe fall. I pray you, go with me. Now must your conscience my acquaintance seal, and you must put me in your heart for friend, sith you have heard, and with a knowing ear, that he, which hath your noble father slain, pursued my life.
Well, Pierce, but tell me why you proceeded not against these feats so crimeful and so capital in nature, as by your safety, wisdom, all things else, you mainly were stirred up.
Oh, for two special reasons, which may to you perhaps seem much unsinewed, but to me they are very strong. The queen, his mother, lives almost by his looks, and for myself, my virtue or my plague, be it either which, she's so conjunctive to my life and soul that, as the star moves not but in his sphere, I could not but buy her. The other motive, why to a public count I may not go, is the great love the general gender bear him.
So have I a father lost, and sister driven into desperate terms, whose worth, if praises may go back again, stood challenger on mount of all the age for her perfections. My revenge will come.
Break not your sleep for that. You must not think that we are made of stuff so flat and dull that we can let our beard be shook with danger and think it pastime. You shall hear more. I loved your father, and we love ourselves. And that, I hope, will teach you to imagine. How now? What news?
Letters, my lord, from Hamlet, this to your majesty, and this to the queen.
From Hamlet? Who brought them?
Sailors, my lord, they say. I saw them not.
Laertes, you shall hear them. Leave us. High and mighty, you shall know I am set naked on your kingdom. Tomorrow shall I beg leave to see your kingly eyes, when I shall, first asking your pardon thereunto, recount the occasion of my sudden and more strange return. Hamlet. What should this mean? Are all the rest come back? Or is it some abuse and no such thing?
Know you the hand?
'Tis Hamlet's character, naked. In a postscript here, he says, alone. Can you advise me?
I'm lost in it, my lord. But let him come. It warms the very sickness in my heart that I shall live and tell him to his teeth, thus didst thou.
If it be so, Laertes, as how should it be so? How otherwise? Will you be ruled by me?
Aye, my lord. So you will not rule me to a peace.
To thine own peace. If he be now returned, I will work him to an exploit now ripe at my device, under the which he shall not choose but fall, and for his death no wind of blame shall breathe, but even his mother shall uncharge the practice and call it accident.
My lord, I will be ruled. Or rather, if you could devise it so that I might be the organ.
Laertes, was your father dear to you? Or are you like the painting of a sorrow, a face without a heart?
Why ask you this?
Not that I think you did not love your father, but that I know love is begun by time, and that I see in passages of proof time qualifies the spark and fire of it. There lives within the very flame of love a kind of wick or snuff that will abate it. And nothing is like a goodness still, for goodness, growing to a pleurisy, dies in his own too much. That we would do, we should do when we would. For this would changes, and hath abatements and delays as many as there are tongues, are hands, are accidents, and then this should is like a spendthrift's sigh that hurts by easing. But to the quick of the ulcer, Hamlet comes back. What would you undertake to show yourself your father's son indeed more than in words?
To cut his throat at the church.
No place indeed should murder sanctuarize. Revenge should have no bounds. But good Laertes, will you do this? keep close within your chamber. Hamlet returned shall know you are come home. Will put on those shall praise your excellence and set a double varnish on the fame the Frenchman gave you. Bring you in fine together and wager on your heads. He, being remiss, most generous and free from all contriving, will not peruse the foils, so that with ease or with a little shuffling you may choose a sword unbaited, and in a passive practice requite him for your father.
I will do it. For that purpose, I'll anoint my sword. Not an unction, a mountebank so mortal that but dip a knife in it, where it draws blood, no cataplasm so rare, collected from all the simples that have virtue under the moon, can save the thing from death that is but scratched withal. I'll touch my point with this contagion that, if I call him slightly, it may be death.
Let's further think on this. Weigh what convenience both of time and means may fit us to our shape. And now, sweet queen.
One woe doth tread upon another's heels, so fast they follow. Your sister's drowned, Laertes.
Drowned? Where?
There is a willow, grows aslant a brook, that shows its hoar leaves in the glassy stream. There with fantastic garlands did she come, of crowflowers, nettles, daisies, and long purples. There, on the pendant boughs, her coronet weeds clambering to hang, an envious sliver broke, when down her weedy trophies and herself fell in the weeping brook. Her clothes spread wide, and for a time they bore her up, which time she chanted snatches of old tunes, as one incapable of her own distress, or like a creature native and endued unto that element. But long it could not be till that her garments, heavy with their drink, pulled the poor wretch from her melodious lay to muddy death.
Too much of water hast thou, poor Ophelia. Therefore, I forbid my tears. Yet, it is our trick. Nature, or custom holds. Let shame say what it will when these are gone. The women will be out. Adieu, my lord. The speech of fire that fain would blaze, but that this folly doubts it.
Let's follow Gertrude. How much I had to do to calm his rage. Now, fear I this will give it start again. Therefore, let's follow.
Should you be buried in a Christian burial that will willfully seeks her own salvation?
I tell thee she is, and therefore make her grave straight. The crowner hath set on her and finds it a Christian burial.
Yeah, how can that be? Unless she drowned herself in her own defense?
Why, 'tis found so.
It must be se infundendo. It cannot be else. For here lies the point. If I drown myself wittingly, it argues an act, and an act hath three branches. It is to act, to do, to perform. Ergo, she drowned herself wittingly.
Nay, but here you, Goodman deliver.
Oh, give me leave. Here lies the mat. Here. Good. Here stands the man. Good. If the man go to this water and drown himself, it is willy-nilly he goes. Mark ye that. But if the water come to him and drown him, he drowns not himself. Argyle, he that is not guilty of his own death shortens not his own life.
But is this law?
Aye, marriage it is. Crowner's quest law.
Will you have the truth on it? It's not been If this had not been a gentlewoman, she would have been buried out of Christian burial.
Ah, why? Now thou sayest. And the more pity that great folk should have countenance in this world to drown or hang themselves more than they're even Christian. Come, my spade. There's no ancient gentlemen but gardeners, ditchers, and grave makers. They hold up Adam's profession.
Was he a gentleman?
He was the first that ever bore arms.
Why, he had none.
What? At the heathen? How dost thou understand the scripture? The scripture says Adam digged. Could he dig without arms? I'll put you another question to thee. If thou answerest me not to the purpose, confess thyself.
Go to.
What is he that builds stronger than either the mason, the shipwright, or the carpenter?
The gallows maker. For that frame outlives 1,000 tenants.
I like thy wit well. In good faith, the gallows does well, but how does it well? It does well to those that do in. Now thou dost ill to say the gallows is built stronger than the church. Oh God, the gallows may do well to thee. To it again, come.
Who builds stronger than a mason, a shipwright, or a carpenter?
Cudgel thy brains no more about it, for your dull ass will not mend his pace with beating. And when you are asked this question next, say, a grave maker. The houses that he makes last till doomsday. Go get thee to yawn. Fetch me a stoup of liquor. In youth, when I did love, methought it was very sweet to contract all the time for my behove. Oh, methought there was nothing meet.
Has this fellow no feeling of his business that he sings at grave making?
Custom has made him a property of easiness.
That skull had a tongue in it and could sing once. How the knave jowls it to the ground as if it were Cain's jawbone that did the first murder. It might be the pate of a politician which this ass now o'erreaches, one that could circumvent God, might it not?
It might, my lord.
Or of a courtier, which could say, good morrow, sweet lord, how dost thou, good lord?
I will speak to this fellow. Whose grave's this, sirrah?
Mine, sir.
I think it be thine indeed, for thou liest in it.
You lie out on it, sir, and therefore it is not yours. For my part, I do lie in it, and yet it is mine.
Thou dost lie in it to be in't, and say it is thine. 'Tis for the dead, not for the quick, therefore thou liest.
'Tis a quick lie, sir. 'Twill away again from me to you.
What man dost thou dig it for?
For no man, sir.
What woman, then?
For none neither.
Who's to be buried in it?
One that was a woman, sir, but rest her soul, she's dead.
How long hast thou been a grave maker?
Of all the days in the year, I came into it that day that our last King Hamlet overcame Fortinbras.
How long is that since?
Can you not tell that? Every fool can tell that. It was the very day that young Hamlet was born, he that is mad and sent to England.
Aye, Mary, why was he sent into England?
Why? Because he was mad. He shall not recover his wits there, or if he do not, 'tis no great matter.
Why?
'Twill not be seen in him there. There the men are as mad as he.
How came he mad?
Very strangely, they say.
How strangely?
Faith, even with losing his wits.
Upon what ground?
Here in Denmark. I have been sexton here, man and boy, 30 years.
How long will a man lie in the earth ere he rot?
In faith, if he be not rotten before he die, as we have many pocky courses nowadays, it will scarce hold a laying in. Now he will last you some 8 year, 9 year. A tanner will last you 9 year.
Why he more than another?
Why, sir, his hide is so tanned with his trade that he will keep out water a great while, and your water is a sore decayer of your whoreson dead body. Ah, here's a skull now. This skull has lain in the earth 23 years.
Whose was it?
A pestilence on him for a mad rogue. I poured a flagon of Rhenish on my head once. The same skull, sir, was Yorick's skull, the king's jester.
This?
Even
this?
that.
Let me see. Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him, Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. He hath borne me on his back 1,000 times, and now how abhorred in my imagination it is, my gorge rims at it. Here hung those lips that I have kissed, I know not how oft. Where be your jibes now, your gambols, your songs, your flashes of merriment, that were wont to set the table on a roar? Not one now to mock your own grinning, Quite chapfallen. Now get you to my lady's chamber and tell her, let her paint an inch thick, to this favor she must come. Make her laugh at that. The queen, the courtiers, who is this they follow, and with such maimed rites? This doth betoken the corpse they follow did with desperate hand fordo its own life. 'Twas of some estate. Couch we a while and mark.
A ceremony else.
That is Laertes, a very noble youth. Mark.
What ceremony else?
Her obsequies have been so far enlarged as we have warranties. Her death was doubtful, and but that great command o'ersways our order, she should in ground unsanctified have lodged till the last trumpet. For charitable prayers, shards, flints, and pebbles should be thrown on her. Yet here she is allowed her virgin krantz, her maid instruments, and the bringing home of bell and burial.
Must there no more be done?
No more be done. We should profane the service of the dead, to sing a requiem and such rest to her as to peace parted souls.
There in the earth, and from her fair and unpolluted flesh, may violets spring. I tell thee, sureless priest, ministering angel, shall my sister be, and thou liest howling.
What? The fair Ophelia.
Sweets to the sweet. Farewell. I hope thou shouldst have been my Hamlet's wife. I thought thy bride bed to have decked, sweet maid, and not have strewed thy grave.
Oh, treble woe, full 10 times treble on that cursed head, whose wicked deed thy most ingenious sense deprived thee of. Hold off the earth a while till I have caught her in unsworn mine arms. Now pile your dust upon the quick and dead, till this flat a mountain you have made to o'ertop all Belian, or the sky shed of blue Olympus.
What is he whose grief bears such an emphasis, whose phrase of sorrow conjures the wandering stars and makes them stand like wonder-wounded hearers? This is I, Hamlet the Dane. Take thy soul! Breathe not well. I prithee take thy fingers from my throat. For though I am not splendid and rash, yet have I something in me dangerous, which let thy wiseness fear. Hold off thy hands.
Pluck them asunder.
Hamlet, Hamlet!
Good my lord, be quiet.
I loved Ophelia. 40,000 brothers could not with all their quantity of love make up my sum. What wilt thou do for her?
Oh, he is mad, Laertes.
For love of God, forbear him.
Schwanz, show me what thou do. Would weep, would fight, would fast, would tear thyself? I'll do it. Dost thou come here to whine, to outface me with leaping in a grave? Be buried quick with her, and so will I.
This is mere madness, and thus a while the fit will work on him.
Hear you, sir. What is the reason that you use me thus? I loved you ever, but it is no matter. Let Hercules himself do what he may. The cat will mew, and dog will have his day.
I pray you, good Horatio, wait upon him. Laertes, strengthen your patience in our last night's speech. We'll put the matter to the present push. Good Gertrude, set some watch over your son. This grave shall have a living monument. An hour of quiet shortly shall we see. Till then, in patience our proceeding be.
So much for this, sir. Now shall you see the other. You do remember all the circumstance?
Remember it, my lord.
Sir, in my heart there was a kind of fighting that would not let me sleep. Methought I lay worse than it, the mutinies and the bilboes. Up from my cabin, my sea gown scarfed about me. In the dark groped I to find them out. Had my desire, fingered their packet, and in fine withdrew to mine own room again, making so bold my fears, forgetting manners, to unseal their grand commission. Where I found Horatio, oh, royal knavery and exact command, larded with many several sorts of reasons, importing Denmark's health and England's too, with oh, such bugs and goblins in my life that on the supervise no leisure baited, no, not to stay the grinding of the axe, my head should be struck off.
It's possible.
Here's the commission. Read it at more leisure. Being thus benetted round with villainies, ere I could make a prologue to my brains, they had begun the play. I sat me down, devised a new commission, wrote it fair. I once did hold it, as our statists do, a baseness to write fair, and labored much how to forget that learning. But, sir, now it did me yeoman's service. Wilt thou know the effect of what I wrote?
Aye, good my lord.
An earnest conjugation from the king. As England was his faithful tributary, as love between them like the palm might flourish, as peace should stiff her wheaten garland wear, and stand a comma tween their amities, and many such like, as is of great charge, that on the view and knowing of these contents, without debatement further, more or less, he should the bearers put to sudden death, not shriving time allowed.
How was this sealed?
Why, even that was heaven ordinate. I had my father's signet in my purse, which was the model of that Danish seal. Folded the writ up in form of the other, subscribed it, gave it the impression, placed it safely, the changeling never known.
So, Guilderstern and Rosencrantz go too.
Why, man, they did make love to this employment. They are not near my conscience. Their defeat does by their own insinuation grow. 'Tis dangerous when the baser nature comes between the pass and fell incensed points of mighty opposites.
What a king is this?
Does it not think thee stand me now upon he that hath killed my king and whored my mother, popped in between the election and my hopes, thrown out his angle for my proper life, and with such cozenage, is not perfect conscience to quit him with this arm? And is it not to be damned to let this canker of our nature come in further evil?
Peace.
It will be short.
Must be
The
no
interim
short.
is mine, and a man's life no more than to say one. But I am very sorry, good Horatio, that to Laertes I forgot myself, for by the image of my cause I see the portraiture of his. I'll court his favors, but sure the bravery of his grief did put me into a towering passion.
Peace. Who comes here?
Your lordship is right welcome back to Denmark.
I humbly thank you, sir. Dost know this waterfly?
No, my good lord.
Thy state is the more gracious, for 'tis a vice to know him. He hath much land and fertile. Let a beast be lord of beasts, and his crib shall stand at the king's mess. 'Tis a chaff, but, as I say, spacious in the possession of dirt.
Sweet lord, sweet lord, if your lordship were at leisure, I should impart a thing to you from his majesty.
I will receive it, sir, with all diligence of spirit. Oh, put your bonnet to its right use. 'Tis for the head.
I thank you, your lordship. It is very hot.
No, believe me, it is very cold. The wind is northerly.
Oh, it is indifferent cold, my lord, indeed.
But methinks it is very sultry and hot for my complexion.
Oh, exceedingly, my lord. It is very sultry, as 'twere, I cannot tell how. But my lord, my majesty bade me signify to you that he has laid a great wager on your head. Now, sir, this is the matter.
I beseech you, remember...
Nay, good my lord, for mine ease, in good faith. Sir, here is newly come to court Laertes. Believe me, an absolute gentleman, full of most excellent differences, of very great soft society, great showing. Indeed, to speak feelingly of him, he is the card and calendar of gentry. For you shall find him the continent of what part a gentleman would see.
Sir, his definement suffers no perdition in you, though I know to divide him involuntarily would dizzy the arithmetic of memory, and yet but yaw neither in respect of his quick sail. But in the verity of extolment, I take him to be a soul of great article, and his infusion of such dearth and rareness as to make true diction of him. His semblance is his mirror, and who else would trace him his umbrage? Nothing more.
Your lordship speaks most infallibly of him.
The concernancy, sir. Why do we wrap the gentleman in our more rawer breath?
Sir?
It's not possible to understand in another tongue. You will do it, sir, really.
What imports the nomination of this gentleman?
Of Laertes?
His purse is already empty. All golden words are spent.
Of him, sir.
I know you are not ignorant. You.
I would you did, sir. Yet in faith, if you did, it would not much approve me. Well, sir?
You are not ignorant of what excellence Laertes is.
I dare not confess that, lest I should compare with him in excellence. But to know a man well were to know himself.
I mean, sir, for his weapon. But in the imputation laid on him by them, in his meed, he's unfellowed.
What's his weapon?
Rapier and dagger.
That's two of his weapons, but, well.
The king, sir, has wagered with him 6 Barbary horses, against the which he has imponed, as I take it, 6 French rapiers and poniards, with their assigns as girdles, hangers, and so. 3 of the carriages, in faith, are very dear to fancy, very responsive to the hilts, most delicate carriages, and of very liberal conceit.
Why is this imponed, as you call it?
The king, sir, hath laid that in a dozen passes between yourself and him, he shall not exceed you 3 hits. He hath laid on 12 for 9, and it would come to immediate trial if your lordship would vouchsafe the answer.
How if I answer no?
No, I mean, my lord, the opposition of your person in trial.
Sir, I will walk here in the hall. If it please his majesty, 'tis the breathing time of day with me. Let the foils be brought, the gentleman willing, and the king hold his purpose, I will win for him an I can. If not, I will gain nothing but my shame and the odd hits.
Shall I redeliver you e'en so?
To this effect, sir, after what flourish your nature will.
I commend my duty to your lordship.
Yours, yours. He did comply with his dug before he sucked it. Thus has he and many more of the same bevy that I know the dressy age dotes on, only got the tune of the time and outward habit of encounter, a kind of yeasty collection which carries them through and through the most fond and winnowed opinions, and do but blow them to their trial, the bubbles are out.
My lord, his majesty commended him to you by young Osric, who brings him back to him that you attend him in the hall. He sends to know that your pleasure holds to play with Laertes, or that you will take longer time.
I am constant to my purpose. They follow the king's pleasure. If his fitness speaks, mine is ready. Now or whensoever provided, I be so able as now.
The queen desires you to use some gentle entertainment to Laertes before you fall to play.
She well instructs me.
You will lose this wager, my lord.
I do not think so. Since he went into France, I have been in continual practice. I shall win at the odds, but thou wouldst not think how ill all's here about my heart. But it is no matter.
Nay, good my lord.
It is but foolery, but it is such a kind of gain-giving as would perhaps trouble a woman.
If your mind dislike anything, obey it. I will forestall their repair hither, say that you are not fit.
Not a whit. We defy augury. There's a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. If it be now, 'tis not to come. If it be not to come, it will be now. If it be not now, yet it will come. The readiness is all, since no man has aught of what he leaves, what is to leave betimes.
Come, Hamlet, come and take this hand from me.
Give me your pardon, sir. I've done you wrong, but pardon it as you are a gentleman. This presence knows, and you must needs have heard, how I am punished with sore distraction. What I have done that might your nature, honor, and exception roughly awake, I here proclaim was madness. Was Hamlet wronged, Laertes? Never, Hamlet. If Hamlet from himself be taken away, and when he's not himself does wrong Laertes, then Hamlet does it not. Hamlet denies it. But who does it then? His madness. If it be so, Hamlet is of the faction that is wronged. His madness is poor Hamlet's enemy. Sir, in this audience, let my disclaiming from a purposed evil free me so far in your most generous thoughts that I have shot mine arrow o'er your house and hurt my brother.
I am satisfied in nature, whose motive in this case should stir me most to my revenge. But in my term of honor, I stand aloof and will know reconciliation, till by some elder masters of known honor I have a voice and president of peace to keep my name on board. But till that time, I do receive your offered love, like love, and will not wrong it.
I embrace it freely, and will this brother's wager frankly play. Give us the foils, come on.
Come, one for me.
I'll be your foil, Laertes. In mine ignorance your skill shall, like a star in the darkest night, stick fiery off indeed.
You mock me, sir.
No, by this hand.
Give them the foils, Osric. Cousin Hamlet, you know the wager?
Very well, my lord. Your grace hath laid the odds on the weaker side.
I do not fear it. I have seen you both. But since he is bettered, we have therefore odds.
This is too heavy. Let me see another.
This likes me well. These foils have all a length.
Aye, good lord.
Set me the stoups of wine upon that table. If Hamlet give the first or second hit, or quit in answer of the third exchange, let all the battlements their ordnance fire. The king shall drink to Hamlet's better breath, and in the cup and union shall he throw richer than that which 4 successive kings in Denmark crown have worn. Give me the cups, and let the kettle to the trumpet speak, the trumpet to the cannoneer without, the cannons to the heavens to earth. Now the king dunks to Hamlet. Come, begin, and you the judges, bear a weary eye.
Come on, sir.
Come, my lord.
One.
No.
Judgment.
A hit, a very palpable hit.
Well, again.
Say, give me drink. Hamlet, this pearl is thine. Here's to thy health. Give him the cup.
I'll play this bout first. Set it by a while. Come. Another hit. What say you?
A touch, I do confess.
Our son shall win.
Oh, he's fat and scant of breath. Here, Hamlet, take my napkin, rub thy brows. The queen carouses to your fortune, Hamlet.
Good, madam.
Gertrude, do not drink.
I will, my lord. I pray you pardon me.
It is the poisoned cup. It is too late.
I dare not drink yet, madam, by and by.
Come, let me wipe thy face.
Lord, I'll hit him now.
I do not think it.
Yet 'tis almost against my conscience.
Come, for the third, Laertes. You but dally. I pray you, pass with your best violence. I am afeard you make a wanton of me.
Say you so? Come on.
Nothing, neither way.
Have at you now!
Part them, they are incensed.
Nay, come again.
Look to the queen there. Oh,
Lead on both sides. How is it, my lord?
how is it, Laertes?
As a woodcock to mine own springe Osric, I'm justly killed with mine own treachery.
How does the queen?
She swoons to see them bleed.
Oh, no, the drink. Oh, my dear Hamlet, the drink. I am poisoned.
Oh, villainy, ho! Let the door be locked. Treachery, seek it out.
It is here, Hamlet. Hamlet, thou art slain. No medicine in the world can do thee good. In thee there is not half an hour of life. Treacherous instrument is in thy hand, unbaited and envenomed. Foul practice hath turned itself on me. Lo, here I lie, never to rise again. My mother is poisoned. I can no longer. The king's to blame.
Point. Envenom too. Then venom to thy work.
Oh, yet defend me, friends. I am but hurt.
Here, thou incestuous murderous damned Dane, drink off this poison. Is thy union here? Follow my mother.
He is justly served. There's a poison tempered by himself. Exchange forgiveness with me, noble Hamlet. Mine and my father's death come not upon thee, nor thine on me.
Heaven make thee free of it. I follow thee. I am dead, Horatio. Wretched queen, adieu. You that look pale and tremble at this chance, that are but mutes or audience to this act, had I but time. Oh, as this fell sergeant, death is strict in his arrest. Oh, I could tell you. But let it be. Horatio, I am dead. Thou livest. Report me and my cause aright to the unsatisfied.
Never believe it. I am more an antique Roman than a Dane. There's yet some liquor left.
As thou art a man, give me the cup. Let it go, by heaven. I'll have it. Oh, good Horatio, What a wounded name things standing thus unknown shall live behind me. If thou didst ever hold me in thy heart, absent thee from felicity a while, and in this harsh world draw thy breath in pain to tell my story. Oh, I die, Horatio. The potent poison quite o'ercrows my spirit. I cannot live to hear the news from England, but I do prophesy the election lights on Fortinbras. He has my dying voice, so tell him with the occurrence, more or less, which have solicited. The rest is silence. Oh.
Now cracks a noble heart. Good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.
Tonight's presentation included the following cast.
Darin Dunston,
Stephen Viola,
Greg Wichman,
Martin Pfefferkorn,
Molly Revenson,
Leah Schwarts,
Bob Rutan,
Michael Lazarus,
Frederick Anderson,
Wendy Watt,
Annalisa Loeffler,
Timothy J. Cox,
Franconeri.